Hello friends, bienvenidos. My name is Jen, aka Jen Kahlo on social media, your local witchy friend and intuitive guide through the occult. As always, my lovely husband and co-host is David, aka Premier Pulls on social media.
Hi everyone, on today's episode, Jen explains Takanakuy.
Welcome to the show, grab a chair, make yourself at home. Jen's got stories to share, you'll never feel alone.
Imagine this, it's Christmas morning, you wake up, you put on a colorful ski mask, you go to the town square, and you punch your neighbor in the face. Happy holidays.
To be fair, that does sound like Christmas at some people's homes, so, it happens.
Well, that's the Takanakuy, which is the Christmas Peruvian fighting festival.
And this is going to round out our kind of May highlight on everything south of the border, essentially. I think we've learned a lot this month. I have loved all the things we've been able to cover and explain, from Quetzalcoatl to having the Voladores. That was such an interesting episode. And now we're rounding out with a very unique festival. But before we get into that, it's been a while since we've actually been in the studio. We successfully completed our cruise.
Yes, it was quite an adventure to go to Alaska.
Yes, and that actually inspired a few topics. So those will be coming down the pipeline, and we're really excited to kind of share what we learned in Alaska a little bit, and also just capitalize on it, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing about having a podcast. At this point, anything and everything we do, we try. I don't even think it's conscious, but subconsciously we're like, that might be a good thing for the podcast or something we could cover. So, but we do want to finish off this month strong with this ritual. So tell me about it. What does it involve? It's very unique. I have known about it, but all I have seen is just the TikToks of indigenous Peruvians fighting. So I suggested this episode. I think I suggested all the episodes this month, didn't I?
Yeah, I think you did.
So these are really for my education, but let us know, what's going on?
Yeah, so this has been happening in the Peruvian Andes for centuries. So it's an annual fighting tradition held December 25th, and that's not an accident. That is on Christmas intentionally, and it originated around Santo Tomas, but it started spreading into other villages and urban centers, and Santo Tomas is near Cusco, Peru. So
okay.
Yeah.
And the Andes Mountain run through Peru, but they're not exclusively in Peru, right? They go a little more south, I believe.
I don't remember what countries it crosses through. We will have to check that
To
out.
fact check that.
Yeah. Oh my god.
It's so easy to say fact check now because in the moment we're like, we'll have to fact check it. But as I'm editing these, I have like a little notebook where now I'm writing down all the fact checks. So it's every time we say it now, it does trigger a response from like, shit, now I have to make sure I highlight that in the editing.
Yes, but it's okay. We like doing additional research and circling back.
Yes.
But the name Takanakuy is Quechua of the Chanca people. So one translation is when the blood is boiling, or it could mean from takar, which means to hit, and nakui, which is reciprocally. So to hit reciprocally.
Yeah.
So we don't really know. There's a lot that is mysterious about this practice. The one thing that I urge you, if you don't know a lot about Peru, or if you're not Peruvian, is to understand that there's 42 cultures or indigenous groups in Peru. It's not just one. So a lot of what we're going to mention is research from Santo Tomas, but there are other villages that do things slightly differently.
Yeah, and that's not just true of Peru, that's true of Guatemala, that's true of Mexico.
That's true of everywhere.
Yeah, in Mexico there's a really big indigenous culture, and I mean there's people whose main language is Nahuatl or something completely different. Even Guatemala, I used to have a coworker who then was a roommate, and he spoke Spanish obviously, but his like main language was a Guatemalan dialect, and it was very interesting to hear because he would speak it at home with his wife and his kids, and I didn't know what they were saying, but I would love listening to just them speaking it back and forth.
Yeah, so cool. The Chanaka people take pride in resisting colonization, both from the Spanish and the Incas.
Which is right on brand. into what we're doing this month is highlighting the non-Eurocentric deities, gods, traditions. So perfect.
Yes. So people just maybe look at this and think, what a savage brawl or something like that along those lines, but it's really a peaceful ritual. It is restorative justice to its core.
Yes.
It is restorative justice to its core.
I wanted to talk about that. Do you think now is the time to talk about justice, or should I wait a little bit?
I think we can wait a little bit. Let's explain the full picture.
Yes.
So it's not just people swinging unexpectedly left and right. There is some organization to the chaos. There are referees, and there are some basic rules.
Okay.
People wear certain costumes. You don't have to, but that's a big part of getting into the spirit of the holiday. There is music, specific types of dancing, and a whole week building up. So it's not just Christmas Day, but there's a whole week procession beforehand. Yes. So what are some basic fighting rules? Kicks, slaps, and punches are allowed. It's basically bare knuckle. There are no weapons, but biting, hair pulling, and hitting someone when they are down are not. So usually when someone falls to the ground, again, it depends village by village and their traditions, but most of the videos that I saw for research purposes, when someone fell, it was over.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, you couldn't stand your ground.
And I'm assuming there's no dirty tactics allowed, like eye gouging or fish hooking, correct?
No, it's just limited to kicks, slaps, and punches with dignity, and every fight starts and ends with a hug or a handshake.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's very civilized.
Yes.
Do you know what fish hooking is? That way?
No. What is that?
So fish hooking is when somebody sticks their finger in your mouth and then just like hooks you like a fish.
That's what I thought it was. Which seems kind of dangerous because couldn't you just bite on the finger?
Kind of, but if you think about it, if you get the foot past the dental line, then you just have the cheek.
I am resisting the voice.
Don't fish hook me.
telling me to do this right now.
Please don't fish hook me.
So, like I was saying, the origins are very contested because we're not really sure where it comes from, but some trace it to, you know, historic indigenous rituals, other connected to the colonial period and clashes between the indigenous people and the Spanish invaders. So one version is that the colonial era overtaking forced people to fight amongst themselves, basically that the Spanish made people fight each other for entertainment.
So that's one of the theories?
That's one of the theories. Yeah. And
I feel like it would go back more than that, right? Because why would it stay as more of an indigenous tradition if it was something that was perpetuated by colonizers?
It was reclaimed over time. So things can be instilled upon a marginalized group and then they reclaim it as their own.
Yeah.
That is one theory. That is not the absolute truth. Another theory is that that was a day that folks could fight the tribal chief and then there was a balance of power, or you could really fight anybody. No one was above getting asked to fight. And then another theory is that it was restorative justice. So in the mountains, you're far away from the metropolitan cities. Back in the 1500s, I'm not sure what the courts were like in Peru, but at least nowadays, for the folks that still live in the mountains, if you want to sue somebody to go down the mountain like 8 hours, pay an attorney, file paperwork, and as someone that is often in courtrooms, it's so infuriating to go and it's like the case is continued. You can't do that. You need to figure it out street justice style. But again, there is a rhyme and a rhythm. You squash it that day. So part of what makes this and what I would call a peaceful ritual is that if you really have a grudge or an issue that you cannot let go of until Christmas Day, then it's going to start and it's going to end here. So part of it is fighting, hugging it out, and then drinking beer together after and being like, okay, we're turning a new leaf. It's fine.
Yeah, that's something that crosses, I think, borders even into here in America. A lot of indigenous tribes and organizations, they have their own systematic way of dealing with things, including, criminality and their own idea of restorative justice. So I don't think that's something hyper specific to this region. I think that's just another way of doing things, which, if it works for that population and it works specifically for that group of people, then, great. That the way you mentioned the whole ritual kind of reminds me of rugby. I used to play rugby in college, and that was the same mentality, right? Because rugby can be very brutal. It can be very intense. You kind of just leave it on the field, and then afterwards, I think all rugby clubs do this, but us specifically, if you were the hosting city, you would also have to host like a bar afterwards. So we were sponsored by Heineken, which was great. But yeah, we would take the rival team out for beers right after, and during the game, you want to basically rip that person's head off, and then right after you're chilling. There's a famous saying among rugby players that rugby is a savage sport. It's a savage sport played by gentlemen, and football is a gentleman's sport played by savages.
Wow. Yeah. That's so funny. Yeah, a little lore drop. You used to play rugby.
I did, yeah. It was, I don't know what I was thinking. I never played any sort of organized sport in high school other than swimming. So my roommate was like, "Hey, you want to join this rugby team?" And I was like, "No, not really." But I don't know. I guess I got convinced. And I played for like a season. I was really, really bad. It was fun. And I never got injured. My mom was fucking petrified when I told her. She was like, "What are you doing?" I think she was like really upset at me.
So from the videos that I saw in Santo Tomas, it seems like age groups stayed within age groups in terms of like opponents. So there were little kids, there were women of a certain age group, like teen girls, and then like older women, and then same thing with the boys and the men, and then elderly people. So it really seemed sort of like we're gonna put you in your class, for a lack of a better word, but you just need two people to agree. It could be anything. It could be you stole my girl, you owe me money, some HOA rules like
land disputes,
something more serious like that, like family feudal disputes, or it could just be for sport. There are some people that are also like, I just want to do it. And then the other person is like, I also just want to do it. So if someone doesn't want to fight, then someone can take their place. But ultimately, nobody is forced. It has to be agreed upon by both parties.
I saw a couple TikToks on it as I was kind of doing research myself. I think because it's received some fame and notoriety, I saw that like people from other countries are now joining in just to be able to fight. But I don't know. I feel two types of way about it. One is like maybe it brings a spotlight to these indigenous people, but also after understanding that it is like mutual, then it makes me feel a little bit better. However, I don't know. I just feel like bringing foreign people in to fight like indigenous people, the optics are not great, but it looks like everybody's having fun, so I'm not going to speak on anybody's behalf. I just get a little bit of the like cringe internally, or some red flags go up for me, but I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Well, I saw one foreign guy go and try to join in, and he got his ass beat, so that was fun.
Yeah, I think it's more the invasion into something that's like not your culture, and being like, oh, let me just go check it out. It's kind of like I forget the term, but it's a sort of tourism where it's like you go for like the bad stuff essentially. There's like a name for it. I guess we'll have to fact check it, but it's not tourism for happiness sake. It's just like bad things have happened at this place, and you're there to capitalize on like the negativity. Even though this isn't a negative practice, it still feels, I guess, icky to me. Well,
interesting that you say that. Because of this foreign fascination, they also started one in the summer. Yeah. So now there are two. Yeah. There's the Christmas one, which is legit if you're from the village, or I guess if you happen to go on Christmas if you're a foreigner. And then there's a summer one for tourists.
Yeah. It reminds me a little bit of our episode with the voladores, where it was a ritualistic thing, but now they have it at like theme parks where they have a scheduled programming. It's fine. Ultimately, I think the people who are in charge, the indigenous people, have like the final say of who they allow into their community, and I'm never gonna say that they're wrong. It just seems a little like they're being taken advantage of, but I could be wrong. This is my own speculation.
Yeah. And the referees, they do have whips. They're the only people with weapons, but that's only for crowd control.
Like riot management?
Yes. Yeah. And if there's someone that like won't stop when the referee intervenes, they do have whips.
Yeah.
And yeah, they do use them.
Is it like people won't stop or somebody will jump in?
Both.
Okay.
Either the crowd gets too close to the action and it's like give them some space, or someone jumps in, or people won't stop, or they do an illegal move.
So there are things that get out of control, even though everybody's communally agreed to these rules and having some sort of organization.
Yeah.
Right.
There's a lot of alcohol involved as well.
Okay.
And it's like a week per session. So imagine dancing, drinking for like a week. You definitely get saucy.
Yeah.
And there is music that accompanies this. It's called Huaylia music, I think is how it's pronounced. And it dates back to around the 1500s. It was an indigenous genre dealing with themes of freedom and colonial resistance. And it sounds almost like the Peking opera. It doesn't sound like reggaeton, doesn't sound like cumbia, nothing like that. It almost sounds like Peking opera. It's so fascinating.
It's not just the Mortal Kombat theme song on repeat.
Yeah. And the lyrics have to do with fighting, resistance, joy. So it hypes people up. So there's that music, people dress, and we'll talk about the specific costumes in a minute. And there's a lot of dancing. People also, when they wear the mask, it is tradition to sort of talk to someone or call someone out in a different voice. You have to try to disguise your voice. There's a tourist that went and said there's nothing more terrifying than an angry drunk dude in a ski mask talking to you like Tweety Bird.
Oh my gosh.
Because they're like, I don't know what they were saying, but it did sound very high-pitched, like, hey, we need to fight tomorrow.
Oh my gosh.
It's very weird.
Yes.
But the theory or thought around that is if you were going to do like a feudal dispute or like a bigger family thing, it's like it doesn't matter who's fighting, you just know that like this is like block A and this is block B, or this is the family A and family B.
Yeah.
Or if you wanted to call out your boss, if it was someone like of authority, it's like, I have a problem with your management style, let's duke it out. But eventually with the alcohol, people forget to disguise their voices or they take their masks off, so eventually you end up finding out who it is sometimes.
Not everybody's anonymous though, right?
Not everybody is anonymous. Yeah, some people don't care to be anonymous, but it is part of the tradition. Yeah.
I still think in general, like running the fade on Christmas is pretty intense.
Yeah. But because it is on Christmas, you do have to honor Jesus. So there is also Mass and
such a weird dichotomy.
and a time to honor Jesus. It is Christmas after all. So social status is suspended, like we mentioned. As long as both parties agree, there isn't supposed to be any hard feelings after. You're supposed to squash it that day. There is technically no winner. There's not a ref that's like, this person won. It's up to interpretation, but usually you can tell.
It's not about the result. It's about getting it out and then squashing the beef, right?
Yes, exactly. But you can kind of tell, especially like if someone is on the ground or if someone was throwing more punches and then the ref had to intervene, you can kind of come to your own conclusion.
When does the fight get stopped?
It gets stopped whenever the referees deem it appropriate. Like if someone is on the ground, if someone is doing an illegal move, if someone has stopped fighting and the other person keeps going. But for the most part, at least the locals seemed like they knew when to stop.
They just have like a general understanding of, okay, like enough is enough.
Funny enough, the sessions that had the most referee engagement were the women. But that is so true. When I used to work at a middle school, the teachers would be like, this is not necessarily good, but with the boy fights, we just had to count to 10, and we knew that with the boys fighting, it was very much like as soon as they throw a few blows, they squash it, but the girls are vicious.
Yeah.
They can keep going. So with the girls, it's like you got to intervene immediately. With the boys, you're like, and now, and then they're usually done.
In high school, did you all have a spot where people would go basically fight or run the fade?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I grew up in LA. We did. We were spicy, and I don't think I've ever said this story out loud, but I think I will. So,
weren't you gonna run the fade with someone?
yeah, yes, I was. So there was this girl. It's kind of awkward because she's no longer with us. Rest in peace.
Oh, she passed away? Oh my gosh.
So there was this girl that was spreading rumors that we were supposed to square up, and I never showed. And that was like, oh, you're disrespecting.
So you took that personal.
And I took that personally. You're disrespecting my honor. But this is also hilarious because I was the high school valedictorian. So what the fuck was I doing?
Yeah.
But our Spanish teacher forgot something and she left, and I knew she was going to be gone for a while. And so I went up to this girl that I didn't really know. I just knew her because we were in the same Spanish class, but I had never spoken to her. But she just started this weird rumor. And I didn't mean to make a scene. I genuinely just meant to talk to her at that moment. But I was like, I heard we were supposed to get down. My invitation got lost in the mail. What's up?
Damn.
And she was like, oh.
So you fish hooked her.
She was like, oh, I only said that because I heard you were talking shit about me. And I was like, I didn't know who the fuck you were before this. And then she was like, oh, well, don't worry about it then. I was like, okay. And that was it.
I think there might have been some fighting in my high school, but I remember there was a lot of fighting in my middle school. There was like a spot to fight, and people would fight, and I knew some people who fought.
But also growing up, this is when we first had like smartphones where you could at least record something and then upload it to your computer, or we could start uploading straight to the internet. And World Star.
The World Star. I was about to say the World Star era. Yeah, I have thoughts on that.
World Star. One day I caught my dad watching World Star. I was like, how did you find this?
Oh my gosh. Anyways.
Yes. It's interesting to see the children get down, though. There were a lot of kids fighting.
Yeah. You've worked at schools. Did you have any students who fought each other? Yeah.
Yes, there were fights often. And that's when the teachers were like, give it like 10 seconds. And if it goes past then we need to intervene. And it was like 50-50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did we see a fight at River Park? I think we saw a fight at River Park, right?
We did.
And a girl got her like wig pulled off.
Yes.
So River Park is in Fresno. It's like a nice area too, but I think recently it's been taken over by like kids. Essentially, that's where they congregate,
and that's where they get down for some reason.
That's where they get down. Yeah. We were there, and we just saw a bunch of kids
start going hands.
Yeah, we saw. It's not funny, but it is kind of funny. We saw this girl. It was two girls fighting. One of them got her like wig pulled off, and then I think the person like threw it up in a tree or something.
Yes.
Right? It was something crazy. We're just like, what just happened?
And then the cops came to.
Yeah, it all happened like in less. It felt like
2 minutes.
Yeah, like 2 minutes, and then we saw that happen, and we're just like, "What is going on?"
Yeah.
But that's Fresno, I guess.
That's Fresno, I guess. Yeah, that's everywhere. Honestly, kids are always gonna want to throw hands.
Yeah.
Have you ever gotten in a fight?
No.
As a minor.
As a minor, I don't think I've gotten in a fight as an adult. No, I never got in a fight as a minor.
Or an adult.
No.
All right. That's good. When we come back from the ad break, we're going to deep dive into the different costumes and archetypes that people use to really channel their inner fighter. We'll be right back. Today's episode is brought to you by us, Kythera Collective. If you've been vibing with the energy of the show, then you're going to love the Kythera Club over on Patreon. It's a space that I built for the cosmic, the curious, and the slightly chaotic. You know who you are. With 3 delicious tiers to choose from, we start with the chocolate level at $4 a month, which gains you access to weekly horoscopes and the exclusive Unhinged podcast, where I say things that don't make it to this main feed. It's sweet, it's spicy, and it's just for you. Next, we have the cafe level at $7 a month. This is where things really start to get cooking. You'll receive access to exclusive workshops, monthly virtual hangouts, and a private Discord community where you can chat directly with me and receive exclusive behind the scenes updates. It's magical, cozy, and a little unhinged in the best way. Finally, we have the tequila level. This is the VIP lounge. At $25 a month, you'll receive everything from the previous tiers, plus a personal 15-minute one-on-one session with myself or David each month, and discounts if you want to extend the session. It's a whole vibe and a powerful way to receive personalized guidance. So if you've been laughing along with us, crying or rage screaming in agreement, come hang out with us at the Kythera Club. Head over to patreon.com/GenColo and choose your tier. If you want to sponsor an episode and advertise with us, go to our website, www.gencolo.com. All right, now back to the show. Welcome back.
Genesis fish hooked me during the break.
No, I did not.
She's like, can I try that?
No, this is not true. Lies. Fake news. All right. So the different costumes, I'm going to almost refer to them like skins, like from video games.
Like Fortnite skins?
Like Fortnite skins. So your basic skin is the Maheno. It's a base level costume. It's modeled after a person from the Majes River region. They have what look like chaps or horse riding pants that are made out of leather. They have a leather cap, they have a traditional jacket, and they have a hollowed bull's horn for alcohol, and they have the traditional ski mask shiesty looking thing with the 4 colors, red, green, yellow, and white, representing the 4 quadrants of the universe. I was trying to think like what is the association or research what the association was, but I couldn't really find anything. So
With the colors, you mean?
yeah, with the 4 quadrants.
Well, you said it's the 4 quadrants of the universe, right?
I don't know if that means the 4 elements or, well, I guess that could be north, south, east, west.
Yeah.
Point is, I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know what color corresponds to what, but
And
yes.
we won't be able to fact check because you couldn't find it.
Yeah, I couldn't find it. I could try, but I couldn't find it originally. Then you have the Cuarawatana, which is the Maheno plus a leather bike jacket, a long additional like more long leather chaps, and then either a dead bird or a deer skull on their head, and that's more popular with young fighters for the intimidation factor. So it's interesting that we're going to go through the 5. There are 5 different ones, and you choose the one that you resonate with the most. Then there's the negro, which is a costume evoking a colonial era enslaved person, or more like a slave master figure. So, because there were slaves brought all up and down North America and South America, and they have knee-high leather boots, a silk embroidered cape in a pink or a baby blue, and a cardboard crown. And this character dances in circles, kind of like a rooster.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there is what's called going as a rooster, which is someone without a costume. They're just going by as themselves.
Just freeballing it,
yeah,
essentially.
naked rooster.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't find what this one looks like, but the final one is the langosta,
Well,
which
it's just a lobster, right?
so I was going to say in Spanish, langosta, you usually think lobster, but another creature that is by the same name is the locust.
You know what image just popped into my head? Oh god, season 2 of Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, where they were at the Halloween party and they start fighting, and I think Miranda's in the Mr. Krabs costume, and she's like pointing her crab leg.
Oh my god.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
I'll have to show you, that scene, but because they were literally about to fight at a Halloween costume, but they were all dressed up, and she was dressed up as Mr. Krabs, and she had the claws, so she was like pointing and was like fighting with her claws.
That's so funny. Yeah, sometime in, I want to say the 1940s, 1950s, there was a weird locust plague, like biblical proportions.
Yeah.
And so they added that as
They took
like
inspiration.
characters, history, living history. So the masks symbolize nature and spiritual forces, and each one represents the wearer's connection to the earth, nature, and the community. And some of them are adorned with taxidermied animals, like I mentioned earlier.
Can they fight with those things on, or it's just like the entrance into the arena?
Depends on the person.
Yeah.
It could be one or the other. Yeah. But it's really interesting, at least from
Imagine getting knocked out and there's just like a fucking bird staring over you.
yeah, a dead bird, taxidermy bird on someone's head. But it's so fascinating from a spiritual standpoint to get into costume and sort of want to evoke the energy of one of these 5 archetypes. And it just gives you that like strength and that power. And it kind of reminds me of drag queens, when drag queens are like, when I'm just plain old me, I'm shy, and as soon as like the wig and sequins come on, I'm like a whole nother diva.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. It's very spiritual and transcendent, and then that sort of gives people kind of like the courage to fight or just get in the holiday spirit.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense. What do you is there any more?
No, those were the 5.
Those are 5. Yeah. One point that I just wanted to talk about, actually 2, but the first one I think we'll talk about justice. There's the obvious like definition that is universal as far as like what it actually means, but I think there's the other perception of like, what does justice mean to an individual? When it comes to society, it's so hard to have a universal definition of what justice is, right? Everything from capital punishment to monetary fines. What makes justice justice? That's where we do start getting into a little bit of the human psychology of like, if somebody else has done me wrong, what would I quantify as us being even or having essentially justice served? I think in America, it's way more complicated. I think there's so many different levels and tiers to understanding justice. In this case, it seems a little more neutral and the stakes aren't as high, and I think you can look at it like at a rudimentary level of like, I have a problem with this person has a problem with me. Once we fight, it's over. We call that justice. But it's a bigger conversation, right? I mean, I think this is a funny episode, but it also does open to the conversation of like, what does justice mean for everyone? And I don't think everybody's on the same playing field, so unfortunately I don't think we can have a unified theory of justice, at least not in like bigger societies.
This is literally my bread and butter for 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
And I work for a nonprofit law firm, and I manage a team. And we always talk about what we call restorative justice or alternate forms of justice. So I have my team work with individuals that we accept, or sometimes even people that call in just for general like advice and screenings. And we've talked about different forms of justice. One is through the legal system, which is I'm going to take you to court and I'm going to win. Sometimes it's monetary. Sometimes it's just being heard. Other times it's like not even being heard by the person that hurt you, but being heard by like a judge or someone with authority. Other times it is being heard by the person that hurt you. And
sometimes it's even as having acknowledgement that something happened to you, right? That in itself can be a form of justice.
Yeah. And then for some folks, there's just never enough justice, or they haven't defined what justice is to them yet.
The gamut runs so big. And I mean, an interesting example, especially in today's day and age, like somebody with like substance abuse issues who's maybe unhoused, you arrest them, you find them, like, is there justice in that? Some people might say yes, right? They're breaking the law, they have to pay the consequences. It's a pragmatic approach. I'm not here to say one is right or one is right and one isn't. However, in that situation, like, is it really justice to the person, the system, the punitive cost of having to implement those consequences? Where is the line? Right?
Yeah, it really depends on the person. But it seems like the village has agreed that this is a day of justice, and you have to be okay. If you're going to participate, you have to be okay with just squashing it right then and there.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot. They also have appeal fights. So,
Oh my gosh. Okay.
so they could either go again the same day, or sometimes they could take it to another village that continues on December 26th. And those are the more what they call like savage fight, not like savages, but like it's more gruesome, it's more brutal. So yeah, sometimes people can be like, you know what, I tripped, or something got in my eye, like let's run it back. So yeah, very interesting.
I think this is also another unique another unique ritual in where something happens that I don't think happens a lot, where it's we talk about it a lot, the lizard brain, which is just your intuition, your feelings, and then you have a little bit of the prefrontal cortex because you're deciding to engage in this. So it's a unique place where both things can be true at once. You can let your inhibitions down and say, I'm going to let the lizard brain take over, but you're consciously making that choice. I don't think there's many places in life where that's true, where you can have both parts of the brain working simultaneously. I think some might argue with like MMA, boxing, or like organized fighting. I say that's a little different because that at that point is a profession. I think that is more of the logical brain. I think that obviously there's some inert part of like fighting is so primitive. However, like a professional fighter, they've dedicated their life or have made that conscious decision to say like, this is what I'm going to go for. And there's more, it's literally a martial art, right? So there's more tactics, there's more forethought, and I don't think it's all completely just the lizard brain. Whereas here, I think it's a really good balance of both. And I can't really think of any other situations where maybe a rage room, right? That would be, yeah.
I think we would have world peace if we could just duke it out with people one time a year, and not like the purge, not like running up behind someone when they're not looking, but with dignity, face to face, bare knuckle, like you pissed me off, let's go for it.
So interesting. They've studied this psychologically, and kind of going back to the rage rooms, there is a thought process that if you are in a rage room or let out your violence or, hit a pillow or punch something that doesn't hurt anybody, it'll be cathartic and have a way to let that out. However, that's not the case. When I was doing therapy and working in crisis situations, we were shown to like help manage the emotions and the behaviors and not have that outlet, because unfortunately the brain kind of interprets it as a reward. As like, hey, okay, I'm able to fight and I'm able to let it out this way, as opposed to finding an alternative way to let out those emotions. So psychology has shown that that's actually not effective. So I know the instinct is like, well, just let it out, punch something, punch a pillow, but that doesn't always work. And unfortunately, it can reinforce a negative behavior.
Interesting. Yeah. Like every year I'm going to get down with a long list of people.
Exactly. Yeah. So I can see the logic of like, well, it's just cathartic, let it out, the beast squashes. And maybe it is. This ritual sounds like it's become more entertainment than actual like, fighting for whatever. But perpetuating violence, even if it's in like a sanctioned way and to provide a place for people to let it out, psychologically it doesn't always have that effect, which I think is interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
When I did martial arts, I would imagine some people that did me dirty and it felt really good. Maybe it was my brain being like, yeah, this is a reward. Yeah. This is a little treat. And
you're just feisty, aren't you? Yeah.
I don't have a lot of outlets, but martial arts was really nice. If I had the time and the money, I think I would like to continue, because I like the release. It's very interesting. And I found it really rewarding to spar with the opposite sex, because I would knock glasses over sometimes. Like one of my opponents wore glasses and I knocked his glasses off unintentionally, and he was my friend, so I felt bad. I was like, no.
Did you feel bad?
In the moment, it was like, yeah, but then 2 seconds later, I was like, no, I'm so sorry. But then my sensei was like, that was fantastic. And I was like, okay.
You were getting reinforced.
Yeah, I was getting reinforced. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's great. I think it is healthy to let it out. I think that if both parties agree, having that mutual combat is healthy.
I think a caveat maybe is if the person doesn't have any issues with like anger, maybe it's not as damaging. But if the reason they're letting that outlet is because they have tendencies of like anger and need help with anger management, doing physical violence, even if it's not against a person, like it doesn't help resolve the issues. You have to get at the core of like where this anger is coming from and not just finding an outlet that doesn't hurt somebody to let out that anger. Because again, it's like a muscle. You're still working out that anger muscle, just in a different way. So if you think about it, like if you go to the gym and do like biceps, like, you know, you could be lifting free weights, or you could be lifting, you know, objects. Like that muscle's still going to be worked out, and it's not solving the crux of the issue of like, why are you angry?
Anything in excess is bad.
Yeah.
So, yeah. However, the government did try to eradicate Takanakuy, but the people are going to continue to do what they want. And it's like, are you really going to climb a mountain for 8 hours to police this? You know,
They might.
They've sort of let it go. They have bigger fish to fry. But it has crossed lines into middle and upper class participation, just like anything. When it starts from resistance, marginalized communities, eventually it becomes cool and it goes all the way up to the upper classes. So there's tourists, whether it's like upper class Peruvians or actually like foreign tourists, that are now more involved in the ritual.
Is this something you would want to witness?
No,
Yeah.
I don't think it's my place personally to witness it. I can look at videos on YouTube if I'm curious. And I was, and that's how I found out a lot of this. But I don't think I should be encroaching in that. At that point, I'm also appropriating, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at earlier, and I agree. I don't know if this is something I would want to witness live. I'm curious, well, never mind. I think I can answer my own question, but I was going to say, what would be the difference between witnessing something like this and then witnessing the voladores, the flying rituals? That's more of a ceremony, and I think that's monetized, right? So at least you're paying for that art form? And it's an art form. I guess this isn't really...
I guess you could say that the Takanakuy might also be monetized because of the, like, vacation... traveling money.
So then what would be our difference? Because I feel the same way. That's not something I would want to watch.
Well, that's participation within the villagers. It's very personal. It's like, you took my girl, or you stole my cat, or whatever the beef is. Versus the fertility ritual, it's like, well, we want the earth to be abundant. That's for you, that's for me, that's for everybody. So I just feel like it's almost like when you're watching the neighbors fight. It's like you're not supposed to, but you're curious.
Yeah.
That was a fucking sport when I was a kid.
Neighbors fighting?
Oh my god, yeah, the neighbors would come, the SWAT teams would come all the time.
Gosh.
My little brother and I would be like, "Ooh, what's up?"
You and I grew up very differently.
Oh yeah. I don't know, you probably never had this experience, but we've had the experience with the chopper, and they close a section of streets because they're trying to find somebody, and on the chopper they're like, "Everybody stay indoors. We're going to release the hounds." And basically, if you're not inside, the German Shepherd is biting your ass, because at that point, the German Shepherd or the Malinois is like, anyone that's not inside, that's like moving, that's the target. So I actually had a little neighbor kid. My family, the four of us, we just came back from Costco, and we heard that, "Get inside, we're releasing the dog." My little neighbor kid was walking, and he got into the car with us, and we were basically sheltering in place until the dog found this person, and it was quite the shit show.
Yeah, I have never had that before.
Yeah, this is so bad. I'm talking so much about my LA experience, but I got used to sleeping through parties. I got used to sleeping through choppers. I got used to sleeping through the chopper's flashlights in my window. Like, if you don't get used to loud noises, you're not going to sleep in LA.
We had loud noises because we lived next to Cal Poly, so we lived on like the party street. It was called the Hathaway, so we'd have like college parties that I could learn to sleep through. But yeah, no, never really like police stuff.
Yeah. The only things that would wake me up were raids, like SWAT teams, because then they yell, open the door! And you don't know if that's your house or someone else's house. So you brace yourself, and then if you hear the smash and it's not your door, you're good.
That's just a wild way to live, Loki.
It builds character.
Yeah, I guess.
Anyway.
I mean, we're literally sitting in the exact same position.
It's so funny how that happens, but yes, we are.
Yes.
And we're married. So
Yes.
how about them apples? But yeah, there is a related tradition in Bolivia called the Tinku, which is held in May in the village of Potosi. And these are large community brawls, but they're mainly the men. The women don't really fight, and there are fewer rules. So again, it depends, village by village, they'll have different rules. Yeah. And again, it's the same sort of worldview of the Andes conflict as something to be expressed publicly rather than suppressed privately. It's like we're all going to witness this beef being squashed or this person, expressing their catharsis. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So, is there anything else? Oh, no, there is something else. We kind of talked about, right now we are in spring. And we talked a little bit about that, right? How it's like a new beginning, and in a sense, it's just a condensed cycle of like the year, right? You have the problem, you solve it, and then you start a new year.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, you turn a new leaf.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the closing of a chapter and beginning a new one with the beef squash.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully there's not a part 2,
I wonder if things carry over into the next year. Now, if you're fighting years on years over the same thing, then that's also a problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think it's super interesting. I think it's a good way to close out May, and we had a lot of good topics this month, and this was an interesting one for sure.
Yeah. So some people call it violent, but I think it's restorative.
I mean, it is violent. I don't want to sweep that under the rug, but I think it serves a purpose for this specific group of people. So we'll take it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so
catch us in Peru.
No, we're not going to do that.
The Merced version. I mean, they're always closing down Canal Street.
I know, right? We did get a lot of comments, and let me explain why. So Grace's episode, we did get a comment on Spotify from Robert. He said, great episode. So thanks, Robert, for commenting. But we posted a clip on TikTok, and it broke containment.
Yes.
Where Grace and I were talking about Winton. All we said was that Winton was getting a McDonald's, and it continues to grow views, but as of today, it has 36,000 views, 260 comments, and 2,000 shares.
So Winton came out to play.
And we looked at the population of Winton is 10,000 people.
Something crazy, yeah. It's nothing. Yeah, it's more views definitely than the population.
So I was not expecting that, but I guess Winton people got really excited that someone with a microphone said Winton, and then I had to clarify. They're like, you live in Winton? And it's like, no, I live in Merced. The podcast is produced in Merced, but my guest Grace has an office in Winton.
Yes.
That's why we're talking about Winton.
Yes. But I feel like now we have to go. There was a lot of recommendations for a place called Vanessa's Ice Cream Shop. So I think we'll have to check it out for sure.
There is one somewhere in Merced, but I want to check out the Winton one.
No, we need to go to the Winton one for sure.
Yeah.
And then didn't you say somebody recognized you and was like,
oh yeah, I went to an event and I was like, hi, nice to meet you. And then she didn't put 2 and 2 together, but after 30 minutes, she was like, wait, I saw your video about Winton getting McDonald's. I was like, yes, that is me.
Yeah. And then I think that's also when you asked how many people live in Winton? And
she was like, everybody's seen your video.
Everybody in Winton has seen your video. So
everyone that has a TikTok in Winton has seen your video. I'm like, wow.
So shout out to Winton. Have I been to Winton?
Yeah, we've been for family friend parties.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay, we'll definitely have to go. So Vanessa's Ice Cream. We'll clip this and we'll tag y'all. But we're gonna make a field trip to come see you and see what the hype is about. But you got a lot of fans out there.
Yeah, seriously, huge fans out there. Yeah,
a lot of ice cream connections. Stephanie from Las Garrafas Ice Cream was a previous guest on the podcast, and I think summer's coming up. People want their
Yeah.
nieve. People want their ice cream. So
Yeah, that sounds good.
love to represent and help those businesses out. And
I was about to say.
go ahead.
No, you read my mind. Go ahead.
They just opened up an ice cream place right across the street from our studio called Rolled Ice Cream.
Rock and rolled ice cream.
Rock and Rolled Ice Cream.
Something like that.
All right, so we'll have to go check it out, and we'll report back. Maybe we'll do an ice cream tasting.
Yeah, seriously. Sort of like when we used to have our Unhinged podcast and
Yes.
we did our alcohol tasting.
Yes, if you have not seen that episode, what's our tier? Our lowest tier is $4.
Yeah.
Yes, for $4, if you want to watch us taste like all that types of alcohol, I think it's worth it.
Yeah.
You should check it out.
I agree.
And on that note, if people do want to get a hold of you, how can they do so?
Get in touch with us. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Blue Sky at Jen Kahlo, or on Facebook, Kythera Collective LLC, or our website, jenkahlo.com. And remember, if you like the show, rate it, give us 5 stars wherever you're listening, share it with a friend that might be interested in learning more about this Peruvian fighting festival.
Awesome. Well, if you've ever ran the fade for any reason, let us know in the comments, and if it's appropriate enough, we'll read the stories.
Give us your World Star confession.
Yes, give us your World Star confessions, and we'll share them on the next episode, or I guess whenever we read them.
Yes. All right. Remember, the magic within you makes the world a more beautiful place. Blessed be, and signing off. Bye.
Bye.